Well, thank you, Christina, and thank you, Linda, for joining us today. Thrilled to have you here at our Global Outlook launch. And
thank you for having me. Appreciate
very
it.
excited to hear your perspective on a variety of things. Linda is the chairman of advertising and sales partnerships for NBCUniversal. It's an incredible portfolio of entertainment properties. Can you describe just the breadth of the portfolio for us?
Yes, I certainly can try. I don't think it's changed since this morning when I was at the office, but it may have. But we have assets that I would say what I'm responsible for, give or take 5 or 10%, depending on if it's an Olympic year or not, responsible for about $10 billion worth of ad revenue a year, which includes, main linear networks, digital platforms that span from NBC, which is one of our 2 broadcast networks, English language, obviously, Telemundo, Spanish language, but a whole host of news networks, MSNBC, CNBC, and obviously Today Show, et cetera. But then we have our sports networks and related sports properties, for example, our exclusive relationship with the NHL or our relationship with the NFL. I mentioned Olympics, but then cable entertainment properties. So big players in cable, USA, Bravo, E, Sci-Fi, Oxygen, and down the line. And then we have a lot of our digital platforms. So if we look at what's owned and operated by NBCUniversal, from Fandango to Golf Now, but now new to our portfolio, we have our relationships where NBCUniversal takes the outward-facing lead to advertisers in terms of Vox, BuzzFeed, Apple News. We are the exclusive, partner for monetizing Apple News. And then obviously our most recent investment in Snapchat, being the only strategic partner during their IPO process. And then we have a lot of exclusive content with them and a great and growing relationship. So, our assets from what is owned and operated by NBCUniversal at any given time, I would say, to put it in perspective, is anywhere from 20 to 24% of available audiences, depending on what you're looking for, at any given time in the month. So if it's 18 to 49, 25 to 54, a more specific target like a car intender, car purchaser. But we know very specifically we can give our advertisers a lot. But we also know we can't give them everything they need to help them sell product. And that would be the reason behind all of our new phase of partnerships, again, from AOL and BuzzFeed Vox to most recently Apple News and Snapchat. So that kind of expands what we can offer our customers. So that's really what we've been doing to try to focus on what's that $10 billion portfolio. What does it mean to anyone? We want to offer them as many audiences and active consumers as possible.
Well, our outlook this year puts a big emphasis on user experience and the strategic importance of user experience. How companies like yours create that winning combination of content, distribution, and technology. And given what you just described and the importance of user experience, how do you bring those capabilities together, both for users and for advertisers, to deliver that winning proposition?
Well, I would say, first of all, I've been at the company just about 5 years. And when I got to the company, NBCUniversal was really a byproduct of a series of mergers and acquisitions. So if you had, I'm not sure, the benefit of being one of our customers, you have the opportunity in any given day to meet with 15 different people from NBCUniversal. And we made a very good specific effort to make sure that it was 15 different times. So we have really tried which really, I think we've gotten a lot better at that, making it much easier for us to do business. So we formed this one portfolio. So you can talk to a few people, very few people, one, maybe two or three if you have some specifics, but to be able to look at our whole portfolio from one evangelist on behalf of NBCUniversal. So we got that done. We invested a tremendous amount of money, and I mean hundreds of millions of dollars, in unifying our infrastructure. So if we wanted to represent to you as one portfolio, but you couldn't buy NBCUniversal and Telemundo on the same proposal, that didn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. So we fixed that part. Then in the last, I would say, 3 years, a real focus and concentration on technology and data investment, from our deal with our sister company or parent company, Comcast, to deal with them or partner with them on the utilization and productize the Comcast set-top box data, to technology capabilities that basically makes this differentiated position of NBCUniversal from a scale perspective, but takes that scale and makes it smart. So what TV has been dogged with the last bunch of years, particularly from an unfortunate, I would say, press narrative, that TV can't deliver the data and targeting that national marketers crave, but now we can. But they have this precious, unprecedented, undeniably strong premium content, right? So now we're bringing the both together. So we say you get the scale of the biggest collection of premium content, but we've now activated it and made it smart. So you can buy and sell or transact in the most sophisticated, efficient, accurate way that exists today in television. Is it perfect? Is it best? Is it completely automated like a Google and a Facebook? No. And I don't know how quickly or how much we'll be able to get there, because I think you need, continue to need that human touch, right? To contextually place the right content at the right time on the right channel for everything from Sunday Night Football to Saturday Night Live to, I'm sure, what will be the much talked about 10th anniversary of the Kardashians coming up. Can you believe it?
Can't wait.
Yes.
It's a very competitive marketplace. You're right in the middle of a very competitive marketplace. Many other large ad-supported media companies would say many of the same things. They're investing in technology, they're investing in data, they've reorganized. At the core, you mentioned smart and scale together. What is it that really differentiates the proposition when you're in the room with agencies and marketers that you're bringing?
I really do think it's the sweet spot from what we talk about all the time, which is content, data, and distribution, right? If you don't have the scale, you could be really great at it, but if you don't have the scale, you can't be talking to national marketers that say, I can help you drive, no pun intended, test drives. I can help you move product off the shelf. When you have the scale that NBCUniversal has, if you could layer on it, you know, data-driven capabilities that's fueled by Comcast set-top box data, let's talk about it. You got a Nielsen panel that I think this year expanded to 45,000 versus a Comcast set-top box data set that's 23 million. Okay, so that alone differentiates you. If you can productize it or offer it to the advertiser, where you can optimize your media plans that include everything from the heft of NBCUniversal to bring in other partners, Apple News, BuzzFeed, Snapchat, et cetera, then you're really talking what an advertiser is looking for. You don't have to worry about any of the brand safety or measurement issues that are going on. Check the box, got that. And you have the immediacy of this scale and the ability to deliver a message that truly helps sell product. So you know what's been going on out in the marketplace, whether it's a new study that came out that just really, I have to say, debunks a bunch of the myths about the power of digital. Not that it's not important. We haven't, in the last, I would say 18 months, we've invested over $3 billion in our digital partnerships, but it's that media mix that really is important to prove and have great proof of capabilities to the national marketers, and that premium content absolutely has to come first. You can, what was talking about, they're only good at brand awareness, top of the funnel. You want to know something? There's a lot of math that says a quarter of the attribution to that bottom of the funnel or last click attribution should be going to, let's call it television content, right? So I think the power of premium content, which is the real soul hub or driver or heartbeat of NBCUniversal, which is just keep investing in that premium content, then layered on with the data distribution at scale. That's the differentiator for NBCUniversal. And if you look what's out in the marketplace, whether it's the new consortium that's been developed by Fox, Turner, and Viacom, which we applaud, which is OpenAP, I think it's a great step in the direction as there's a complete acceleration of shift to audience selling or consumer segmenting, targeting way beyond age and gender that we're currently limping around with in the marketplace with a C3 or C7 currency. We applaud that. The opportunity at NBCUniversal is quite different because we're already in the market. They have a lot of development to do. We keep an eye on it, and when they're ready, we'll partner with them. We're very open to it, but we're already out in the marketplace with an optimizer that's able to make so efficient your media buy that I can guarantee improvements over last year. Improvements that are the business targets that national marketers are looking for. That being said, that's why we had to really put a stake in the ground and make a big announcement that we availed $1 billion of inventory to... Yeah,
you're guaranteeing them on different metrics now.
We knew that if we were going to change or challenge, I think is the right word, challenge legacy, and it's the legacy or this inertia that we fight in the industry all the time, that's it. It's really a question mark. What does a C3 rating do anyway? Besides that, you have to wait 3 weeks for it. Really? You have to wait 3 weeks for a guess of how many people might have watched your show. How many people by sex or gender that might have watched your show. Not how many people may have walked into your showroom and test-driven your car, or not how many people reacted to your day and date promotion that aired in the new NBCU hit World of Dance, right? I could find that data out in a couple of days that proved the efficacy of that platform. And if it didn't work, I could react and iterate and give you more stuff, right? So we had to at least communicate to the ad community that we had the capacity to transact on that level, and that we were willing to put our money where our mouth was, carve out $1 billion worth of industry in inventory to transact with our clients. I don't think any other media company that has these tools that they're building, which we're supportive of, can transact at a level or a capacity of those numbers or of those proportions.
So that reinforces the differentiation around content, technology, data.
Yes.
That's different about what you bring now.
It also reinforces NBCUniversal's commitment to premium content at scale, and we spent a whole hell of a lot of time making that scale smart.
Right. I'm very intrigued by the investments the company has made in digital, the partnerships that you have. You mentioned Apple News.
Yeah.
I think you just announced another news product with Snap.
Snapchat, yep.
Just recently. But when you take a step back and you look at sort of the landscape around digital and particularly mobile advertising, so much of it lands in the laps of a couple large players.
Yeah.
How much do those...
A couple of large players, 85 cents of every dollar being sent at the duopoly of Google and Facebook. So that might be the elephant in the room.
Right. How much though how much are you seeing, commercially, the fact that you have these other relationships, that you have these other assets, start to change the game for you guys and talk differently about your premium content, your audiences when they're not on your owned and operated assets?
I think the most important thing that we noticed and growing over the last, I'm going to say 24 months, is the desire from the national advertisers to have an alternative, okay? And a lot of that is driven by a series of layered on mishaps, questions, oops, bots, fraud. If you look in this morning's New York Times paper, does anyone say paper anymore? I'm going to say paper and own it. But in the New York Times, Sapna wrote an article just about another challenge. I don't know if anyone saw it around bots or fake likes on Instagram and fake influencers on Instagram. Think about the disrespect to the consumer. Therefore, the I think, ethically questionable conversations that you have with a marketer when that is continually going on. That's in addition to the walled garden of data that, for whatever point, driven many of those companies to go, oops, I counted it wrong, oops, the algorithm did it. You know, NBCUniversal, it cannot be in that type of position.
Do you think we're at a real pivot point in the industry because of these issues around bots and viewability and
I want to say I
traffic?
hope so, because quite frankly, even we're a member of the IAB board, I think their standards are way too low. So I don't want to be, as one of the heads of the biggest media company in the country, you know, the standards need to be equal. But I don't think it's right to lower the standards by which television is measured, right? Why are we lowering our standards? It's only going to water down results for advertisers and then make your first question was viewer experience. Mm-hmm. It's only going to make for a worse or whether it's an inappropriate viewer experience or the wrong messages, therefore irrelevant and weaker outcomes for the marketers. So I hope we're at an inflection point, but I've read a couple of different articles from, let's call it media prognosticators or companies like yourself, where let's call it traditional media revenue will begin to moderate or maybe decrease, and the growth of digital is going to increase, right? But slow down from where it's been. So not the 30 to 40% a year, maybe to 10 to 20%. I find that astounding you know, in comparison or acknowledgement of all the mishaps, from frauds, bots, to viewability. Look, you know your own behavior. I'm scrolling through my newsfeed. We know our own behavior. So you can only imagine what the real impact of people who are watching or not watching. So you have to look at time spent, you have to look at impact, you have to look at awareness, and how many people are really sitting to watch your spot. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and someone from a not-to-be-named big digital company said, we really need to spend time on transforming creative and making effective creative that is only going to be viewed for 1 second. So I was like jumping out of my skin because I was sitting over there waiting to go up next. I'm like, I got to make something perfectly clear. Don't waste any of your creative time doing that, because it's not going to work. So then, of course, I flip side, maybe shilled for my own company a little bit. But I said, you know, when you have something, 5 years ago, Steve Burke and Brian Roberts were chided or questions for who the hell would buy a broadcast network this day and age. And look at how the tables have turned, right? And look at a broadcast network that is able to bring a show out in 2016 that if you look on, whether you want to look at over a 7-day period, a 10-day period, a 15-day period, you're looking at double-digit ratings that include watching your commercials for a show like This Is Us. So when you make great content and great creative, people show up. And really what they do is populate those news feeds and create the buzziest events or talked about today's version of the water cooler. I mean, how much do you think that show, which I think the pilot episode to date is something nearing a 20 rating, right? But if you look at whether it's Alec Baldwin or Kate McKinnon every week, that's what's fueling those platforms from a content perspective. So I would expect NBC will continue fueling that. But I think your original question, we could talk about our new, I think it's probably going to come to market within the next 3 to 6 weeks, daily Snap News show, first ever. So the coming together of the #1 collection of news brands in the country with the hottest, platform that can reach the target demos that,
Is that
we...
all of the NBC News brands, or
Yeah,
a handful?
it's not going to be branded, whether it's CNBC or MSNBC. It's all original, but it will be branded. We're not really sure what we're going to call it yet. It could be, I don't even know. Yeah. NB News Today, they might be Snap in there somewhere. I have no idea. We're testing a bunch of things, but it's geared to, you know, the Snap audience, which is something that NBC has a gap in reaching, but it will be fueled and powered by NBC talent and writers and reporters. I think you'll see a new host, maybe, that you see doing a little roving reporting on one of our channels now. So that's a big, and it's going to be daily, so that's a big and new, exciting initiative for us. But then you have, you know, Jimmy coming out, SNL, and we have the Rundown on Snap, which has, I think it's doing about 5 million views every time it's on. It's 2 days. We may go to 5 days. Insatiable demand for all things Hollywood. So we're learning, we're testing, but we're partnering with them and learning from them. It's really the expedience to market that we're learning a lot from them about, because, you know, if you look at something like a This Is Us, that was in development for well over a year. They get upset if it takes more than 4 hours to bring a piece of content to their consumers. So we had a great experience with the Olympics, and there's going to be a lot more to come in that area. So
lots of innovation in product, you know, tying again back to the user experience, lots of new experiences for fans of NBCUniversal. There's also lots happening in terms of advertising innovation, the user experience of advertising, and you have also been innovating there in terms of, I'm sure, changing the amount of advertising people may see, the kinds of advertising they may see, and even working more closely with brands in terms of connecting them to your creative talent. Can you talk about how much of that is really material or could be material to your business, these new forms of advertising?
I think what's material, and it's a really great question, and that's what we see as the next kind of narrative that people will be talking a lot about. I think what's material is every time we've done it or tested, the results are consistent and they are overwhelmingly better, no shocker, than a 5 or 10 minute commercial, a 10-minute commercial pod. So SNL's the easiest example. We cut the commercial load by 30%. We went into, you know, business where we're working closely with advertisers to attach to SNL, and it's done its highest ratings in 24 years. It might have something to do with election-related content, but good example. I was waiting to be like, are you kidding? It might be Alec Baldwin and Kate McKinnon. But so there's a lot of spectacular success. I think you read a lot of other companies saying they've cut back on commercial load. You need to be really careful because those companies completely violated, I think, an accepted relationship with their consumer and went way over the accepted norm in the business to make up for ratings loss. NBCUniversal never did that, fortunately. We never did that. But I think what you're going to see more now when we talk about this smart scale or the data that TV has finally, what we're really working on is, you know, number one, creating a lot of branded content. We've done a ton of that with clients from Chrysler to American Express that take over commercial pods with branded content that's connected to the IP in lieu of or what to replace what used to be a commercial pod. Again, consistent, 100% of the time, better metrics. Challenge is ad modeling. How do you make the money work? But I think what you're really going to see now, which I'm very excited about for next year, is it not astounding that the only thing that dictates what lives in a commercial pod on television largely is net of conflict or category conflict and flight dates. And then basically we just throw commercials in there. If it's not conflicted and it's in the right flight date, you're in that pod. With no respect to the consumer experience that said, if you're watching This Is Us, you're this type of person, and you would want to see a series of these ads. So ads that make sense to you, or ads that would resonate with you. So now with our capabilities, we're actually able to program commercial pods. Kind of like a if you bought this, you might like this, or if you like this, you like that. So programming of a commercial pod is really astounding that it's never been approached that way. So it brings together context and scale to make for the viewer experience better.
So I have one last question for you, Linda. We could go on, but one last question for you. We have, in our outlook, elevated the importance of businesses that have fans. And we've put an exclamation point on the strategic advantages you have when you have loyal, passionate users that show up habitually, that are emotionally, socially connected to your environments. You've got fans all over your portfolio. This Is Us, you mentioned, Sunday Night Football, the Kardashians, all kinds of fan bases. How does it change the game when you talk to advertisers, when you actually don't have just viewers,
right,
but you have fans?
I think it's really a fascinating, on-point question. I think the digital version or social version of a fan is called an influencer, right? So they have this group around them where they share and they're vocal and they mean something, and they can actually influence a trend or influence product movement or sale, or that's the goal. There is no bigger influencer or fan base than the folks who are insatiable about Bravo and E. And even in this environment where people are talking about moderate or temperate investment in television, okay, Bravo and E, we call it illogical exuberance. I mean, it is the exact example of what you're talking about. Fans who can't get enough. This Is Us is a contemporary version of which we knew we had a hit on our hand. We did not know we had an environment-changing show or content on our hand. And I would throw in Jimmy Fallon on that. The fans that want to get attached to or eat, drink, and sleep, go to bed watching him, wake up for the clips, watch it again, reach out to him on Snap, Instagram, YouTube to watch his content. It has created an opportunity where we look to our advertising partners in a much different way. So it's not just about that. This is true conversation. I had a meeting recently with the Tonight Show team that changed from, don't just look at my team as the people who sell your 30-second spots. We're the chief marketing officers of your brand. So if Jimmy's hosting the Tonight Show, he's also on the Golden Globes, and he also has an original video that he's pushing out on YouTube. You want to be attached to him in every single way. It has completely changed the way we do business with our big influencers, our big content that is fans. And I think you'll see and hear a lot more about that cohesive, holistic, follow the fan around who wants to be a part of every version of that content.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much, Linda. This was an incredible discussion.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
I also want to take the opportunity to thank all of the speakers today who participated in our Global Entertainment and Media Outlook. Brought fantastic insight, and we really appreciate that you were able to spend this morning with us. You know, today is also the culmination of an incredible amount of effort from a really incredible group of people who support the development of the Outlook around the world. And I want to personally thank everyone who's been involved in that as well, because today is a really fantastic day to celebrate the publication of the Outlook, and now it's available to everyone across the network and all of our clients. If you want to get more into the Outlook, there are really two ways to do that. You can go to PwC/Outlook/US and go in deeper into the Outlook content. We just had a taste of the Outlook content today. You can obviously go much deeper with what's available online. Also, please reach out to the PwC partners that you've seen today, and also those that are in your local market. And we look forward to having more discussion with you around the themes, the insights, the perspective that's presented there. So thank you all again for spending the morning with us, and have a great day.